This week's episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by .co Launch,
Gamefly,
and Netflix.
Hello, everybody. On this week's episode of the Totally Rad Show, we are going to be talking about our feelings on the new Iron Man 2 movie, as well as the quick glimpse that we saw of the J.J. Abrams and Steven Spielberg monster teaming up, Super 8. Also, finally, Alan Wake is here, and we get to play it a week early. Yeah, that happened. We also sit down with Peter Sciretta from Slash Film and talk about our final summer movie wager. And I say final because it's like Shrek's final. We're already writing next year's. Check it out.
3 rad men in Afghanistan were captured and taken to a secret den. They're forced to plan shows for the Taliban with Spidey's Uncle Ben and an old modem. So they sneakily pen iron suits for men that fly just like hens and have an app or 10. Soaring free again, they become changed men, vowing to spread Zen on The Totally Rad Show.
Everybody, and welcome to the Totally Rad Show, episode number 164. I'm Alex Albert.
I'm Jeff Cannata. I'm Dan Trachtenberg.
The weekly dose of all things rad is what we are. I was gonna do a whole big thing, but then I decided
You don't want to put on a rad suit that we built when we were in a cave somewhere?
Well, yes, that is awesome. First off, that would have been last year or 2 years ago.
That's true.
But here's the thing. This is a big show. I was
Big show.
thinking about this before. We have our
Summer is here.
movie wager with Peter Sciretta from Slash Film, which is awesome, crazy. Alan Wake, which we have been dying to get our hands on.
Major
Early
game.
review for Alan Wake, unbelievable. Iron Man 2 is now out.
It's happening. It's all happening.
And the biggest trailer to be released in years.
I don't know.
We got our first glimpse.
I'm excited to talk about it because I'm interested to see why there's a lot of. I should be excited to
it
talk
is
about
a big
Let's put it that
episode,
way.
and we've got a background worthy of a very big episode. This is one of my favorites.
Speaking of Alan Wake,
Rick Watson. Elementary. Our dear Rick Watson sent in this background of us. I think it's badass. It's obviously riffing on the Alan Wake art.
Logo. Yeah.
But we look badass. Your pants are really tight.
Yeah, hey man, I'm rocking 80s dancer pants, which is amazing. All right,
cool.
Let's get into the show, shall we?
Do
Iron
it.
Man
Let's
2.
do it.
This week in movies, we are talking about the summer's first big blockbuster.
It's already here.
And it's a sequel to a couple summers ago's big blockbuster, and it is a Marvel Comics movie,
Yeah?
Iron Man 2. All the same guys. Well, actually, not all the same people are back.
just
because
one.
One has been replaced.
Yeah.
No.
Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard has been replaced, but Gwyneth Paltrow, Robert Downey Jr., and they're facing off against evil dude played by Mickey Rourke.
Whiplash.
And hilarity ensues. Alex, you loved Iron Man. It took you by storm.
Surprise and storm.
And Scarlett Johansson as the Black Widow. Alex.
It took you by Halle Berry.
It did.
What did you think of Iron Man 2?
You know what? Honestly, I loved it. I thought it was great. It was exactly what I wanted. I think people have told me, who have seen it, that they were disappointed by it. And I feel like for me, what I wanted to get out of this movie was the characters that I loved in Iron Man again, and more of them. The sort of intrigue that happened, like the fact that at the end of Iron Man 1, the guy was like, "Oh, you can just call it S.H.I.E.L.D." And my mind was like, beep, beep, fwang, you know what I mean? I just wanted more of that, and you get all of that in this movie. I wanted to see more big crazy explosions. You see more big crazy explosions. I want to see Tony Stark being more Tony Stark-ish, and you see him being almost too Tony Stark-ish. There's enough.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Clearly, you got more.
Yes.
Did you get better?
I don't think I needed better. And I don't think I got better. I got the same. I got more of the same.
You got way better. Let's be serious.
Well, I mean, come on, the last 2 years have been crazy. All that steroids I took.
All the droids, hemorrhoids.
Hemorrhoids. Well, first off, I mean, Sam Rockwell is amazing in anything. He's one of those guys that's on my magical list of cast him in any frickin' thing I could possibly cast him in. He may actually be the only person on that list. But for me, it's like...
No, less magical.
Less magical, yeah. So I thought, there were things that were better. I thought Mickey Rourke was great as creepy guy, you know what I mean? I didn't really buy Scarlett Johansson in the action-y parts of her, but that was so little that it was like, okay, I'll forget.
You put an S at the end of parts. Part.
Well, there were two.
Okay.
There were two, but for me, I did like it, but it wasn't enough to take away. But It was more of the same awesomeness. I loved it. If you go in thinking, man, Iron Man was fun, I can't wait to see them do more of that stuff on film, great. As a Marvel zombie, the end could have been better.
Oh, you're a Marvel zombie now.
Oh, dude, are you kidding me? Everything we've read that's Marvel. It started with the Ultimates was like the first thing that got me back into comics.
I love it. I feel like that's a win.
No, it was a total win.
You're talking about the post-credits?
The post-credits thing?
Little tiny scene.
Oh, but there's lots more than just the post-credits little tiny scene. There's way more Marvel-y stuff in the movie.
No.
He's referring to...
I'm referring to that little hook.
But
all the Marvel-y stuff in the movie?
Yeah.
Like Captain America's shield.
You shouldn't say that. It's a major spoiler, but yeah.
I didn't even hear
Well,
what you said.
I'm not saying how it's used. All right, Jeff.
I'm of two minds about this movie.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of the first one. I think it's one of the best superhero movies ever made, and I was really hoping for a Dark Knight to Batman Begins progression, and we certainly did not get that. I would disagree with Alex in the sense that I don't even think it's as good as the first one. I think it's a significant step backward. I still think it's a good movie. I still had a ton of fun watching it, but it embraces its comic book roots in a way that's very satisfying to me. Seeing much more Nick Fury looking exactly like Bryan Hitch drew him in the Ultimates is really fun, and it gets that geekgasm in me going. And I love it's unbelievable that we're getting a studio that is really cross-pollinating a universe into multiple films. That is just awesome. Dream come true, really.
Yeah.
But I do not like the way this character is handled in certain points in this film. Tony Stark has always been a little bit of James Bond and a little bit of Burt Reynolds, and we get way more Burt Reynolds in this movie than James Bond. There's a whole set piece in the middle, which is where I started going, oh boy, which is this big drunken party where I think it was a complete misstep to go that direction. I thought, okay, when it first started, I thought, okay, well, if we stay here only a second, I'll get the gist of it. We stay there way too long, and it becomes a major moment in the movie, and it just doesn't play right for me at all.
It's the Spider-Man dance sequence in 3.
Exactly, and even that was brief, and this is a major plot moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I love Favreau, and I think he has a great comedic mind, and I was laughing a lot in this movie, and Downey Jr. is a hilarious, brilliant comic actor. Magical list. But I think they indulged a little too much in the comedy. I mean, many of the major action set pieces, including the first one at the car race and that second one, are built around comedic moments rather than badassery, and it just didn't land quite right for me. My last big complaint with the movie is that the end is very anticlimactic, I felt. I thought it ended with a whimper instead of a crescendo, and the way Whiplash goes out and the lead up to that is really exciting and fun, and then it just kind of feels so abrupt and unsatisfying.
And I would agree with that point, which matched identically to. I feel like you could say the same thing about the end of the first one. In fact, I think we did say the same thing about the first one.
But it didn't hurt me quite as much that time.
I also had plenty of fun watching Iron Man 2. I have similar issues with it, though. I think that, but I will say that the sense of humor does so much for this movie. And in rewatching my boy, who may be doing the Avengers, Joss Whedon's material, you enjoy watching the movie. You fall in love with characters in a way that you never would without that sense of humor. If there was no sense of humor in either of these Iron Man movies, they would be bad movies. And I think that as much fun as I had watching this, and I feel similarly about Iron Man 1, I have no reason to watch it again because it's so plot-oriented and there's really only 3 action scenes, and one of the only 3 action scenes is that middle one that you're referring to.
Yeah.
And even those action scenes are very plot-oriented, as I say, they're not really creative and fun. I mean, there's a little bit here and there, some fun stuff.
Yeah.
But once I already know the plot, I feel like I have no reason to go back again.
Interesting.
And
I just rewatched the first Iron Man, and I loved going back to it. I think that movie really works on a lot of levels.
The second time I watched Iron Man, I watched it on Blu-ray, and there was nothing there for me anymore. So,
Interesting.
and this is an even worse offender in that category. This is because it's a sequel, and we don't have that pure origin story to resort back to. And I wish that we learned from James Cameron and said, let's make a movie on its own that works as a sequel, and it doesn't continue the story, it tells another story. And this really felt like a continuance.
What are you talking about? Aliens?
Iron Man 2. What?
Are you talking about Aliens?
Aliens, Terminator 2. I mean,
yeah, because that's my biggest problem with all of these superhero movies is I feel like the thing that is exciting and nostalgic is the origin story, and once you play that out, it's very difficult to
That's
do another story.
That's why they always say that superhero franchises become about the villain, because then you get a chance to do an origin story because you're giving the origin of the villain.
Yeah, right.
That's
exactly.
a little bit laborious, I found in Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, fun to be had.
So what do you
Definitely
think-
worth watching. It's not a bad movie by any stretch. It's fun.
But just go in it knowing what you're going to get. You're going to get the extended edition of Iron Man.
But I don't think even the action sequences are as creative as the first ones were.
Yeah, that's true.
Though I did like Scarlett Johansson. Though I could have done without a couple of the
Clips?
close-ups of her whipping her hair to sell that
It's her.
Just did that. Yeah. The yoked dude that flips somebody and then she goes, "Hey, I'm Scarlett Johansson."
Right. Moving on. It is rare that we get to talk about a movie trailer that has this much buzz surrounding it. The only time we've ever talked about this before was
Cloverfield.
2 years ago with Cloverfield.
Right.
So what happened was Drew McWeeny over at HitFix got a hold of the news that J.J. Abrams and Steven Spielberg are producing this movie. Actually, before that was news before this trailer, before this project, Super 8, came about. And what we thought was that it was a sequel to Cloverfield.
I thought it was a sequel to Super 7.
A sequel to Cloverfield, shot on, it's not a sequel, a prequel in the 70s that's all shot in Super 8. Exciting and cool, we're all very excited for that. And then all of a sudden it comes out that no, this is directly linked to the news we had previously where J.J. Abrams and Steven Spielberg are teaming up. Spielberg's producing, Abrams has directed.
Batman and Superman are getting together and making a movie.
Right, a movie that is very Amblin-esque. Amblin being the Steven Spielberg's production company, and we'll use that to refer to the movies he made during the 80s. E.T., Close Encounters, Jaws, all that stuff. So, now the trailer's upon us, and we have a little bit of the plot.
Teaser.
A teaser trailer. This is a teaser, a lot like War of the Worlds trailer, a lot like Cloverfield's trailer, where it's not actually the movie. They shot this, and they haven't even shot the movie yet.
Those are the best kinds of trailers, in my opinion.
They're the most fun. They're like, because this is a trailer, you know? And what we see in the trailer
Classic
is...
J.J. Abrams trailer. Truck running out of nowhere, turning around an old corner in some sort of open field.
I was going to say classic 80s Amblin, starry night sky, field of cornfield or whatever.
Take me on a journey, Dan. Take me on a journey.
Gorgeous, beautiful night, and you're like, that's E.T., that's Close Encounters. And then an old 80s truck is barreling through this cornfield and then hops on a train track and is going straight
You're missing
forward.
all of
Now
the-
there's text. There's
Why
text.
would it do that? Why would this?
Intercut.
Just wait.
And it's
Text
driving
before.
straight towards a
Tell them
train.
the text
And the
before.
text intercutting with this is, if you probably remember it better than me, in 1979,
Yes, in 1979, something hit the planet that was then taken to a secret section of Area 51.
and then that's,
Being transported by blah, 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 and then disappeared, or something like that.
was that what I thought in that section, and then Area 51 was closed down.
Something happened, but
Yeah.
it was clear what was in the train.
Anyway,
I have not seen this
and
trailer.
then the truck.
But it feels like I have seen
And
it.
then the truck-
If I was drunk.
That's what it is.
And then the truck barrels through into this train, and it's this huge, epic, awesome explosion. That's the exciting part. Well, leading to, inside the train, this thing is and it's like produced by Steven Spielberg, directed by J.J. Abrams, and this thing that we don't see is banging
United
against.
States Air Force, and it's like banging its way, trying to get out of this metal train. And
E.T. is pissed off.
Right.
Yep. and
It's
he's
actually
taking
a little
the
bit
air.
reminiscent of that opening scene of Jurassic Park, where we don't see what's inside that metal cage.
Yeah.
And then it says Super 8, and it's got an old like Super 8 camera's lens. Now, what we know of the plot is that it's 1979, and a group of kids who are making like Super 8 movies.
Steven Spielberg's autobiographical.
Steven Spielberg and J.J. Abrams'
Yeah.
childhood, and our, my brothers, and mine in a different way. And they uncover something sinister.
Sinister.
That's all we know, and we've seen this.
So this is not Amblin. Oh, it's
Well, it could be Amblin. We don't know. It could be
Sinister indicates-
The thing in the train
Here's
could be
the thing,
friendly.
if it's all found footage, it's not
No,
gonna
it's
be
not all found footage. It's a movie. Yeah.
good. Then I'm
So
happy.
here's what I would say. I'm bummed that there was this much buzz around it, because if I had gone to the theater
You would have exploded.
knowing nothing, never having heard of the movie, which is how things were in the 80s and 90s.
Well, come on. We all there was still entertainment
Sometimes it would
tonight
read
that I would
Fangoria.
watch.
Yeah, but they wouldn't even
This
have
is
the footage of the
before-
trailer. They would
Oh,
like
but they would tell you this is what's
maybe
happening.
sometimes with some movies, but a lot of times I found out about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mary Hart spoiled a lot of things for
You
me.
stole my heart.
You
Mary
would
Hart.
find out about trailers.
From friends going, "Oh my God."
seeing the trailer. That's how you found out. That's
Well,
why
that's what a trailer was for.
Exactly, and that is, you almost could forget that existed, and you forget that growing up now, the internet, none of that exists.
This is my treatise that I've given many times, and it's
This is your trailer manifesto I've read.
My trailer manifesto, and it's what J.J. Abrams' famous article that we all love about. Let there be magic. Let
Right.
there be surprise.
No, but I'm not talking about a trailer spoiling a movie, which is what you often bring up. Which is
Right, but I think it's part and
in the
parcel.
80s they
Parcel, yeah.
Part and parcel.
well, sort of, but I mean, I feel like trailers, upon their existence throughout the 1950s, 60s, 70s, they've gotten more teasery. Modern times, but what we haven't had, what is new is that we are getting
The fact that the trailer exists is
Yes,
spoiled.
Exactly.
Right.
And that there is this much excitement. So when I saw it, I was a little bit underwhelmed with the actual entity of the trailer.
What
You
you
say
were
this-
talking about?
I'm
So you
part
said
of
this,
the
and
problem.
you just described
I am part
shot
of the
for
problem.
shot.
I know. But
Anyway, you should see it. It's
I
great.
literally what happened is I have not seen the trailer yet,
And
you
I've
did
built
the
it up
thing
to
that you
someone.
exactly
Well, look,
Horrible.
because here it is. I can't blame anyone. Everyone's a part of it. It's the part of our culture
You
now.
can't beat them, join them. Is that your philosophy?
But that being said, despite being underwhelmed, what I saw paired with
You were
the
underwhelmed?
plot, by the visuals of the trailer. I mean, there's not. It's so teasery. Like I said, if I knew nothing and I saw Steven Spielberg and J.J. Abrams are making a movie together, and it's in this world.
You're saying
I'm in.
this should have been the unannounced thing that we saw at Comic-Con
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
when we were supposed to be waiting for the Sorcerer's Apprentice thing to come on or whatever.
Referring to Tron. Yes.
Oh, maybe he wasn't.
I could have been referring
But
to
I'm excited. Obviously, would like to see some of the movie.
Right. Well, of course, but so sinister things happening, and
I think it's a crappy title. The title does not make me excited.
Super 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, having seen none of anything else, I
Yeah.
can only go on the
But
title.
it's not really about what you saw. It's about the idea behind.
Well, you're not going to get me to
J.J.
argue
Abrams
against
is-
the
Yeah,
idea.
And they're two great guys going together to work. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just a couple of great guys.
I have
And
such.
they're great guys. I had them over the house.
You
the
know,
other day.
growing up,
Barbecue?
we saw a lot of Back to the Future was he travels back to the 50s, and our parents were so nostalgic for that era, and I didn't have any of that.
You're nostalgic for 1979?
Yeah, I'm nostalgic for the 80s, of course.
That's why there's such a thing as a hot tub time machine, dude.
Right.
Because we're hit that age now.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
But I love now that we are getting to the age where we're making those movies, and that to be transported back to this era and to have a movie made by these guys then is magical
Yeah.
to me. I am so very excited.
Cool.
I also am.
Yes. Awesome. It is that time again
Pre-summer.
for the 4th annual summer movie wager.
You gotta be kidding me.
This year we decided to do it a little different and declare Civil War.
What?
Civil
Iron Man versus Captain America? Is that what you're saying?
on the Slash Film, the folks over at Slash Film. So we're sitting here with Peter Sciretta,
Mr. Slash Film
President and
himself.
CEO of Slash Film
Special
Industries.
guest in the house. He knows more about movies than
Any of us combined.
Let's just say
Right.
he compiled the list that we were going to be making our sub-lists off of, and there are movies on there that aren't movies, in my opinion. I don't even know what they are.
What we're going to do is what we've done every single year is
Correct.
follow the time travel reviews rules for the summer movie wager. And in all the rules will be found on slashfilm.com/summer, as will all of our lists. What we're doing is the three of us versus Peter, David Chen, and Russ, who are all, Dave also hosts the Slash Film podcast, and they all write for slashfilm.com.
Is it a
The
team?
losing team has to out their list of shame of greatest movies ever made that they haven't seen. And then they will have to watch a movie each. We'll have to watch a movie from their list
And
of
we're going to
shame.
try to get it voted on by the fans.
By fans and viewers.
Oh, yeah.
I'd just like to say
Oh, yes. Welcome.
that
some trash talk.
No. I'm so excited to be here. Like I've watched, every single one of these on my computer, every single episode of the show on my computer.
Nice.
And it's gonna be awesome to beat all of you.
There it is.
Well, it's our honor to have
Absolutely,
you on the
love to
show.
have you.
And to be beaten by the best.
Yes.
The whole idea is that if you get the movie on the nose in the right slot,
Right.
you get more points, and if you get close to the right slot, you
Yeah.
get less points
Right.
as you get
As
farther
you get
away.
farther away, and then none if you're like 3 or 4 away.
Right.
Right, exactly.
Right.
There's no Transformers 2 this year. There's
It's a
no
weird,
big
it's a
4th
weird,
of July,
are we talking
obvious.
or are we making a list?
We're making a list.
God, I don't know what to do. I'm literally
You just have to go.
frozen
You just
in
have to go.
fear.
You just have to go and then change.
I don't like my list at all because it's definitely not the movies I'm excited about for the most part.
Well, you can't. Yeah. You have to. It's not about
Yeah,
love.
don't.
Guys. Team TRS. Now, come on. Don't screw this up.
But I mean, there's still competition between you three, right? Like it's like
Oh, yeah.
the winner and the loser.
Well, yeah.
A little bit.
But the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Done. Wrong, but done.
Before we get into our lists, we should talk about
My number one movie
how
is...
crazy the summer is. As you were saying, there's no Transformers 2 lock. There's no lock. There's no Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls. There's no Avatar. There's no major.
There is an Avatar.
There are tons of major... What are you talking
There's a Last
about?
Airbender.
There are tons of major movies
No,
coming
but there's
out.
no for sure lock. We know that that's in the top 3. Just where in the top 3 that is. There's.
I think the only
maybe
thing-
kind
that's
of
true.
one.
I guess that's
with
Iron Man, I think,
Iron
is the
Man,
only
right.
one that's like that.
But because
Yeah.
that,
Maybe.
yeah, it's like.
Maybe. It's been getting
That
a lot
Iron
of
Man
nod-
is the only one, but Iron Man isn't.
Yeah, but Iron Man might not
Iron
even.
Man last summer would not have been there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that Iron Man is there this summer. That's the.
And you know what? I
crazy
think next summer, it's almost like there's this weird dip this year, and then next summer is going to be
Exactly.
even crazier.
thing. Number 1, Peter
Number
Sciretta
one.
from Slash Film.
Number 1, I have Iron Man. I would actually be surprised if any of you don't have Iron Man.
I don't have Iron Man.
I don't have Iron Man.
Wow.
I don't have Iron Man in my
I-
top 3.
I don't have Iron Man in my top 3.
Wow.
Do you have it as 4?
Yes.
Me too!
Iron Man 2 is my number 1. Now, I'd like to hear your logic, Peter.
Okay, the first film.
Explosions.
Yeah, explosions. No, the first film made like over $300 million.
I believe it was number 2 or 3 in the box office
Yeah,
that summer.
yeah.
And I feel like that was kind of like the Batman Begins, where Batman Begins only made $200 million, and now everybody has seen it on DVD. Everybody, people know what it is.
The
now.
reason why I disagree
Okay.
is because the reviews on just a pure... I Twittered today that I was going to finally see Iron Man 2. 75% of the people responded, oh yeah, it was really boring. I didn't like it. That is not how Dark Knight was. That says a lot. That speaks volumes. That means that
Yeah, but the
next
reviews
weekend...
of Transformers 2 were way worse than what
Yeah, but
some
the
negative reviews
people were not saying that it wasn't good. The critics were saying it wasn't good, but
No,
the
I-
Twitters that I got were all like, "Dude, it was crazy."
Well, I don't know,
and that's
could
not
be
what
right.
I was getting.
I don't know, but I think that
I mean, that's
Iron
also
Man
not
2
why I
is
put it in there, but-
Iron Man 2 is for me is the lock to be in the top 3 because it is
really one of the summer's few like summer live-action spectacle sequels.
Right.
That are, and like you said, and it's the first movie of the summer.
True.
It's gonna get all of that.
I always
and
feel
has
like-
all summer to build
Yeah.
that momentum.
I always feel like I am seduced by that, by the first movie of the summer thing, and it almost never works out.
well,
like
it
that.
worked for the first Iron
No,
Man.
but you know what it will work for?
But it wasn't
is
number one.
Shrek, the true #1 movie of the summer.
Well, my number one is Toy Story 3.
Interesting. Mine's way deep. I feel like Toy Story is.
I
like,
think Toy Story 3 it's like the McDonald's cheeseburger. It's over 1 billion sold. It's it's as wide a appeal as there can possibly be.
11 years since we've seen a Toy
Are
Story
you saying
movie.
it in a good way or a bad way? Like,
I think it's
build up is there,
Listen,
or we forgot?
Think about, okay, the second Toy Story movie did awesome in the theaters. Every single kid has the video or the DVD or had seen it 1 billion times. Like, the following for the Toy Story films has built up over time, and
Yeah.
I think this is going to be
Could be.
massive.
Could
That's
be.
why it's number 2 on my list.
All right, there you go. Number 2.
Shrek will still be the #1 movie in America. I'm just saying.
Well, Shrek is high on my list too. I think I made a
Shrek
big
for your number
mistake
2?
with my number 2. I went a little impulsively, and I shouldn't
I
have.
think I know what you chose.
No, you don't.
What do you
I
have?
went with Twilight.
No.
It could be.
That's not
A
bad.
smart play. A smart play.
Twilight is a little bit
do
lower, but-
gangbusters.
Well, but
right?
it didn't. The second one did not do nearly as well as the first.
The second one is in the top 10 of 2009.
yeah, top 10.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know about 2.
Second?
And the second one, not a
No,
summer.
the second one actually did better than the first domestically.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
but I mean,
That's
none
what
of
we're
these
talking
are gonna-
about.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
That should be the total gross.
We know. We
No,
never talk about
just
worldwide.
domestic.
Yeah.
What?
Of course.
Oh, well, that's interesting. My number 2 is Prince of Persia.
Interesting.
I have a feeling that's going to be the big Pirates of the Caribbean. Everybody that likes Pirates of the Caribbean.
That is how it's being marketed.
You know?
My number 2, and I
Stand by it.
I really was torn between where to place Shrek and Toy Story.
Yeah.
And my number 2 is Shrek.
It's good. Smart. It's going to
So
be
you
number
did Toy
1, so you'll
Story
get a couple
okay.
points.
The reason why I did that is Shrek is being released first in the summer
And in 3D.
and in 3D.
Yeah.
And it's going to
Well,
make a
Toy Story is
whole
in
lot
3D
of
too.
Toy Story in 3D, but later in the summer. And Shreks always make a ton of money.
They do. Shrek is number 3 on my list. So interestingly, on my list, in the top 3, I have 2 animated kids movies.
Yeah, interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited to see what people think about my number 3 because
Wait, did
this
you
is
say
my
your
hope.
number 3?
I didn't say my number 3.
All right,
What is
okay.
it?
My number 3 is MacGruber.
Oh, Alex.
MacGruber, and I'll tell you why.
They're on my team this year.
Everybody that I know who has seen MacGruber has been floored by it. Not just shocked, it's actually good. Like, you've got to be kidding me. This is the best thing that I've
want
ever
it to be
seen.
great.
And
I want it to be
has-
great. It
cost
ain't gonna make money.
Nothing. It costs nothing.
What does that
It's
mean?
not relative
about
to
profit.
Yeah, it's not relative to
It is,
budget.
in my opinion.
There are rules. Wait, there are rules.
Dan doesn't even know the rules. Don't tell me there's rules to this game. But MacGruber, I will tell you right now,
Interesting.
MacGruber will be the Hangover.
The thing that you have to keep in mind with this list is a movie can make a shit ton of money. It can make $100,000, $200,000 and not be on the top 10.
Well, I would never put a
$100
list.
million.
No, I was like, I would never put something on my list that I thought was going to be a huge
It
success
can
at
make less money
250K.
than no.
All right,
You know what I mean? Like
Peter,
MacGruber's
I'm
gonna
wondering
be-
if I can switch teams.
Dude,
These guys talking about thousands of dollars and
$100 million.
Alex is,
So my number 3 was Toy Story 3. So it was Shrek and Toy Story were battling out for 2 and 3.
Toy
What's
Story
your
3 is at 6 for me.
Mine is Eclipse, Twilight Saga Eclipse.
Smart move.
Because
This is 4?
the first
No, 3.
Three.
Because the first movie did 70 million domestically. The second movie did 142 million.
Yeah.
So if you follow the patterns, this is gonna make about $1 billion or something.
I'm with you that it should be high, and I think the summer will up the ante, but even those numbers that you said, I don't think that
That's not 300 million.
yeah, exactly. Although maybe everyone's numbers will be a little bit low, because like I said, there's no Avatar,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
no Transformers.
My number 4, reluctantly, is Sex and the City 2.
Interesting.
Smart play.
I mean, the first one was number 7 on the 2008 list.
That's right.
It was a phenomena of with female audiences. Like it seems like
And gay men.
Yeah, and gay men. If you follow, the rule of the game, the rule of sequels, usually it gets more. But the question is usually.
I think even when I see like, I saw the trailer with Heather and she was like, oh, She's like, I guess I have to go see another Sex and the City movie. But she's not. Last time she was like, oh, I get more Sex and the City. Now it's like they're beating a dead horse. And all of these guys are coming back. It's like this was all wrapped up.
Interesting.
So maybe women aren't gonna go, your 4 was Sex and the City.
Jeff, your
What's your
4 is?
Iron Man.
Iron Man, yeah. Iron Man.
So low.
Wow.
So low.
Maybe for your thoughts.
My number 4 is Prince of Persia, and I think
so low.
I think
That's
it's
gonna
going
be
to
number
be
2. Pirates of the Caribbean.
I think it's got that
World's
Pirates
End.
of the Caribbean thing and National Treasure that, like, despite quality of the movie, people are just going to see it, and if they want to see the summer spectacle.
Yeah.
There's no Johnny Depp in that movie.
Exactly. The reason why it's number 4, not number 2, in my opinion, is that there's no Johnny Depp.
That's true.
And it's based on a video game, not a ride that everyone's gone to see. It's only cool for geeks.
5.
So Peter, number 5.
Moving on to 5.
My 5 is Shrek. I mean, I think that final chapter is gonna, propel that higher than the last, 2 films. So.
Interesting.
I kind of went with my heart a little bit on 5.
Watchmen.
Watchmen. It's coming back.
Blu-ray release of
Last
Watchmen.
Airbender. Here's my reasoning behind Last Airbender. It could be phenomenally good, and it could really catch on.
A lot of kids watch
and
the TV show.
It's 4th of July weekend. It's the
Interesting.
one big movie 4th of July weekend, and that is not to be underestimated, I don't think.
It's not, but it's also later. I mean, it's midsummer, not early summer, but yeah.
My 5th was Twilight.
Transformers 2 is 4th of July weekend every year,
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
So anyway, what,
Twilight.
Twilight? Yeah.
5th. It's got to get on the list.
Yeah.
It might be a little low, but I forgot to put Iron Man in there. And
That's a
couldn't
good.
put that
That's
in
a
there.
great place for Twilight. My number 5
Yeah, I feel that.
is Sex and the City.
My number 6 is, and this is actually, I think I'm being risky with this one, is Christopher Nolan's Inception.
Wow.
It's a risk.
That is
It's a
risky.
It's a real
Mine's
risk.
on the list, but not that high.
Yeah, it's a PG-13 movie, but I mean, so is The Dark Knight, and that did,
Right.
Yeah.
over $1 billion. I'm in theaters when that trailer plays.
Yeah.
And that trailer plays like, everybody wants to see that movie.
That's
Here's
true.
my thing with Inception. It looks incredible.
Yeah.
And just seeing the new trailer today,
Mind-blowing.
it looks like my favorite movie of all time. But,
But,
but it's geared towards adults, clearly.
Yeah.
And it's very mature. It looks like a thinking man's movie.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of spectacle, but a thinking man's movie. And these movies, these summer movies, and it comes out
No
later.
thinking required.
Yeah, and it comes out later in the summer.
My number 6, I think, is a little risky also. I went with Night and Day.
That's one of my dark horses.
That's on my list, Jeff. So
I think that's smart. This is where I put Toy Story 3. I think it's cool that it's
Low.
Pixar, but I feel like it, 2 was cool, but had a little bit of that there was some feel to it.
2 is generally like the empire of the
Every
of the
kid,
now trilogy.
Every kid
2
in
is
America is
the
going to see that
favorite.
movie. Every single kid.
Not
The
for
thing is,
me.
that's low for a Pixar movie, and that's even lower for a
Telling you,
Pixar
I'm
sequel.
telling dude, that's where it couldn't go any
You're right,
higher.
you
No, I
could be
didn't
right.
think it was gonna be higher than Twilight. No, it's not gonna be higher than Twilight. Higher than Iron Man 2? No, it's gonna be higher than Prince of Persia.
All right, we'll see.
See what else is up.
My number 6 is Twilight. So there you go.
That's a good
Peter,
one.
your number 7.
my number 7 is Prince of Persia. I think Bruckheimer always delivers, always, makes money on these films, and I think Disney is, you're going to be not able to drive down the street without looking one way and seeing a Prince of Persia banner
yeah.
somewhere. I mean, it turning on TV, it's going to be all over the place.
True.
My number 7 is also Prince of Persia. So
Interesting.
he gets those points, I get those points.
My number 7 is a movie that I'm sort of surprised hasn't appeared yet. The reteaming of Russell Crowe and Ridley Scott, Robin Hood, which comes out next week. Surprised that's not on anybody's list.
It's on my list.
It's
It's on my
on my list. I'm very excited for that movie. I think if we're lucky, it will do well.
Yeah. Interesting.
I don't think it's going to make summer. I think in the fall, it would make its money back. 7 on my list is Airbender. The Last Airbender. Phenomenal show. The kids are going to see it. It's based on a cartoon.
Hope.
It could catch on like wildfire.
It's M. Night.
But I think there's also and it's M. Night, which could be bad or could be good at this point. We don't know. The trailer looks spectacular.
Yeah.
And I think people want to see that in the way they want to see their summer
my
spectacles.
8.
But it's also like there may be a cachet associated with little kids running around doing kung fu and a little hokey that may hold it
Yeah.
back. So I wasn't sure how high to
I
put
it
it.
at number 8.
Yeah,
for me.
that is my number 8 as well.
Good choice, Peter Sciretta from Sci-Fi.
And but I am nervous that there is this audience for the TV show, but is it gonna work on the big screen? The one thing that gives me hope, and the reason why I put it at number 8, is because it was converted to 3D and it's being marketed as 3D film.
I don't make more money
And
that way.
I think it's going to make more
Although,
money.
did that help Clash?
It helped it a lot.
My number 8 is Sex and the City 2.
Interesting.
Good place, good place.
What's your number 8?
Yeah, mine was Night and Day.
Night and Day.
They're stars, and I think it looks
know.
really good. You know,
Yeah. Oh,
and,
dude,
and
yeah.
the summer needs that guys and girls can go to that movie alike.
Yeah.
You know, but I just.
Like.
I don't. I'm nervous about Tom Cruise nowadays, and,
Yes.
and even Cameron Diaz.
Now at
She's
night.
not had some hits recently, has she?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Getting that.
Your number 10, Peter.
9.
9.
9.
My number 9 is a movie I think a lot of people are
Oh
afraid.
wait, I'm sorry. Night and Day was my number 9.
What's your number 8?
My number 8, The A-Team.
Whoa.
Ah.
Wasn't gonna be on-
18 is my number 10.
Yeah, wasn't gonna be on my list. We saw the trailer today, a newer trailer for it. It looks fun.
Very fun.
It looks like the movie that, and it's released early enough that I think people may. There's not a lot of action movies. There's not a lot of this kind of action movie.
My number 9 is a film that I think a lot of people are afraid to admit that they want to see, and that's why I'm not so sure about it. Is The Karate Kid. The Karate Kid remake. I think that
heard
has
it
the
was
potential.
bad.
It's a dark horse for me.
No, it's
didn't
supposed to be
even-
good.
I even saw the movie and I
sure it's
didn't
good,
even really like it, but I think kids are gonna love it.
My number 9 is Robin Hood.
Nice, good. Glad it's on your list. My number 9 is Inception. Because I think the Dark Knight people are gonna go, but it's not quite,
Right.
it's less.
I like that, logical.
Thank you.
And I already said my number 9 was Night and Day, so your number 10, last one on the list.
My number 10 is a movie none of you have listed so far. It is the Steve Carell comedy,
Yeah.
Dinner for Schmucks?
Or Despicable, Me.
Despicable Me.
My number 10 is also
From
Despicable Me.
Illumination Entertainment, the guy that did produced the Ice Age
Age,
movies, Horton Hears a Who, Robots.
10 for me was 18.
Interesting. My number 10, on anyone's list, it may end up being higher than 10, is the first romantic comedy release of the summer. No one's counting on it here. I may be stupid. We may be laughing at how it was so low on my list. Letters to Julia.
Starring
Starring Amanda Seyfried
lady
from
from-
Mamma Mia,
well, yeah,
and
but also from.
which also was very high.
I think
But also from
this is a
whatever that-
misstep, Dan.
I think
It may be a
I think
misstep.
we'll be laughing, but not as how low it is.
That's
That's why it's
awesome.
number 10. Dark Horse, Inception, Sorcerer's Apprentice, who knows?
It's on my
Who
list.
knows?
It's on my Dark Horse.
Nick Cage, National Treasure, thumbs up. Nick Cage, anything else recently? Thumbs down. So, and my number 3,
Kick-Ass?
great. What? Oh,
Kick-Ass, yeah.
Nick Cage from Kick-Ass, right. My number 3, there's no slam dunk comedy anywhere on my list for us to go see.
Right.
You mean like a basketball comedy?
What? I was like, and I chose the other guys. Will Ferrell and Adam
Yeah,
McKay.
it could.
It could be Talladega
It could.
Nights and
Yeah.
Step Brothers, or it could be Land of the Lost.
What about, no one of
Who
us
knows?
picked,
It's a great premise. I think the premise is
So
great.
mine are Get Him to the Greek,
Smart.
which I think is going to be
Smart.
a good dark
Another-
horse. Could be Night
Yeah.
and Day and The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Good moves. I like those.
Thanks, man.
Good moves.
Thanks, Steve.
Mine are Karate Kid,
Good.
Inception,
Good.
and Predators.
Interesting.
Mine are the A-Team, Sorcerer's Apprentice,
Yeah.
and Night and Day. I find it funny that none of us put Scott Pilgrim on here, but I think
Too
it's
late in the
because
summer.
yeah, it's too late in the
and it's a
summer.
niche,
It's a niche.
audience.
Yeah.
Well, I think it'll be high on our list of what we loved over the summer,
It's a
but I don't
different
know about
list.
money.
Different
Yeah.
list. I'm very interested. Well, thank you, Peter Sciretta from Slash Film, and
Yes.
check it out. Slashfilm.com/summer is going to be where to find out
play
all of
along.
our lists.
See if you can
Play
beat
along.
all of us.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna have people in the comments there submitting their own lists and seeing
cool.
who can beat
Reign
us.
Supreme.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, shall we punch it
Peter,
out?
thanks
Peter?
so much.
Yeah, thank
Welcome
you guys
to
for.
the
Do I get the punch?
Yeah, baby.
Woo!
Reload.
We got a very big video game release coming up this week. It's called Alan Wake, and it's from Remedy, the guys that did two of my favorite action games on the PC, Max Payne and Max Payne 2. And it's a very small development studio, which meant it took a long time for this game to come out, but it finally is coming out. It's a 360 exclusive. And the idea behind this game is it sort of unabashedly takes on the Stephen King kind of thriller horror idea, with a writer as the main character. In fact, the very first 2 spoken words in this entire game are Stephen King. And so we have a writer who goes to a island resort with his girlfriend to kind of get away from all the hubbub of his, exploding fame, and just be able to kind of get away from it, and not have to write.
And it's very Stephen King milieu because
Right,
it's
it looks like Maine, kind of.
Maine-ish
Pacific
kind of-
Northwest.
Yeah.
Even though that's Maine is
Not Maine.
northeast.
Yeah,
But they're identical.
they're interchangeable.
Geography. Anyway, and then the game, obviously bad things start to happen, and you take on the role of Alan Wake, who has to deal with these forces of darkness that only come out at night, and he has to battle them using light in many different forms. The game is interesting in the sense that it is broken up into episodic structure, so there's 6 episodes total for the game, and each one is structured very much like an episode of a hour-long television drama, ending in a kind of a cliffhanger, and the next episode starting with a previously on Alan Wake, and showing you kind of what's happened up till now, which is a novel approach, and it's something that other games have tried, but I'm not sure anyone has accomplished in quite the right way. So Alex, tell me what you thought of Alan Wake.
Dan handed me this game and said, I think you're gonna love this game, and he was completely
Spoiler.
and he was completely right. First off, to just touch on the fact that the episodicness of it, genius. The feel of playing this game and then having the Alan Wake logo come up right as there's sort of like this cliffhanger, and you're like, and then the music that plays afterwards, and you're just sitting there and it says end of episode 1, and you're like,
Yeah, they do.
I love you, game.
They do an interesting thing. They have these licensed music tracks, so it really does feel like an episode of The Sopranos, for
Yeah,
example.
it feels
where
like the end of you're listening to the
Yeah.
end song, the sort of cathartic song of the
like
the
6
episode.
Feet Under or something like that.
Yeah, really well done. And I have to say, I think this game may have done what Heavy Rain set out to do better than Heavy Rain did. And the reason why I say that is because I felt just as into the story, just as immersed. With the storytelling, there were a few cutscenes here and there, but for the most part, I felt like I was walking through these story moments and going and getting things and doing all this stuff. And where I know mentally that Heavy Rain was doing this crazy underneath mechanics stuff that was like the story was your own story that unfolded. But because it did that so well, I just thought that was the story, and I experienced it, and I experienced it successfully. You know what I mean? And it was sort of later that I found out how awesome that experience was. Whereas I feel like just going through the single experience, I had much more of an engaging experience in Alan Wake than I did in Heavy Rain. And the other thing was because the game was so good. And I think that
there's much more of an action game than
it's
Heavy Rain
more
ever
of a
would
game
be.
than Heavy Rain.
Yeah.
Exactly. And by
More of an
design.
action game than Heavy Rain is.
Yeah, and by
That's what I
design.
said, right?
Yeah. But I have to say, we've had a lot of games that have sort of dealt with this sort of you have to stay in the light. The sort of crows attacking felt very Gears of War, where you had that like flat flashlight or the big spotlight and you were shining it. But the way that they executed the sort of flashlight basically just removes their shield and makes them vulnerable, and then you can do the thing.
Shoot them.
That is the
thing.
But that is bare bones simplicity. The amount of did you guys lock into the sort of like slow-mo ducking out of the way of stuff?
Oh yeah.
So satisfying. And not only that, sometimes creatures don't just jump out at you. Sometimes if stuff's gonna jump out at you, it's like all of a sudden it's like whang, slow-mo, and you see where the creatures are coming from, and you're like, oh god.
There's
But
this
not
cool
every
thing
time.
with the camera, like if you kind of are walking away from one, it'll pull back and you'll see their perspective of you.
In slow-mo.
And there's also interesting things that they do with the AI in the sense that if you kind of focus on one enemy, another enemy will move much quicker than it normally would to come up and kind of blindside you.
Yeah.
So it definitely keeps you off balance in a much more of a horror-y kind of way.
Bro, and there were definitely times, and here's the other thing that I loved about it was scary, viscerally scary, but not so scary, only jump scares. It's that intellectual scary where you can take it. Because most of these games, I just don't finish, because it's like Doom 3, it's like, I can't have more zombies coming out of air vents that I didn't know were air vents.
As a matter of fact, there's not a lot of jump scares.
When they happen.
But there are a few of them, and the whole rest of the game you're playing, scared that they're going to happen.
Yeah.
Looking back, in hindsight, they didn't really happen that much, but the suggestion of them being there was pretty potent.
The creep factor of this game is amazing. So I have to say, this is in my top whatever of the year. I mean, this was such an amazing experience. My only little issue was I thought the ending was a little not satisfying, and I'm worried that they were visioned too far on downloadable content for me. I want a game.
It certainly is set up in the sense that they could easily do more episodes as download.
But I feel like you've got to, you pay $70 for a game. If the game doesn't tell a complete story, and I think it did this, but downloadable content should be in addition to the game. I can choose to have it or not. I've had this great experience. So that's my big fear, is that it was a little close.
I disagree with you in the sense that it's an incomplete story. I just think it's a little bit convoluted. It's much more like Lost than it is like Twin Peaks. It's got that like.
You don't think that it was a sort of, even in itself was a cliffhanger?
I didn't get quite the cliffhanger. I kind of got a resolution to that moment.
I was a little confused on the ending, so I'm excited for off camera to talk about
It's intentionally confused. It's intentionally obtuse.
Right.
But I'm worried that it's because there's the next downloadable content that'll start clearing things up, and that I have a problem with. But I love this. This is love.
I couldn't help to be reminded of Uncharted 2 while I was playing this game, in the sense of kind of what Uncharted 2 did for the big budget action kind of movie as a video game
experience.
Yes, I feel like this did with the hour-long TV suspense story.
I disagree with that.
What would you say?
But I think we're all relieved that Nolan North did not do the voice of Alan Wake. And yet it was still a very good vocal performance.
Oh, yeah.
So you can do that. You can not cast that guy. Although he's
Dan
exceptional.
arguing for taking money out of a man's pocket right now.
That guy's good to go. If you read Game Informer. This is an exceptional game, and I mean that by its definition. And not only is it a fantastic game, but it's unlike most games you play. And the mechanic of the flashlight and the shooting, not only is it visceral, gutturally satisfying to experience, but visually exciting to watch, and
the sound that they have for the amazing
the way
sound
those
design.
sparks look and all that stuff. Boy, I mean, forget your BioShock movie and all these games that they're talking about, Gears of War. This is what I want to see as a movie. This is actually a unique, visionary experience. The story is, although a little convoluted and hard a little bit, didn't understand, but as you experience the story, it's awesome, hilarious. And there's a profound moment when you're playing the whole game by yourself, and then instead of leveling up in a game, you get a partner, and then you get two partners. And like in other games, you feel more powerful because your gun gets more powerful, and you level up your shield, and you level up, and that makes you feel like you're progressing in a game. This game did it by giving me people to share that journey with, which was very needed.
Unlike most games where you have AI-controlled co-pilots,
they're awesome.
They're awesome,
and they're funny.
But you also
I want to hang out with them.
fear for them.
Yeah,
it's like I know they were never really in danger, but
I said this on Weekend Confirmed, and I'll say it again here. I think Barry, the character of Barry, is one of the great video game characters ever.
Totally.
He's fantastic.
Or Joe Pesci with a weapon, but totally one of the great video game characters. But I mean, no, I know, absolutely. There's a few things holding this game back from being a perfect experience for me. One of them is as much as I love that mechanic, it's a little redundant. Over and over, I'm just doing this and shooting. I mean, that experience doesn't really change. That's why it was so great when I got the partners.
Yeah.
There could have been more puzzles. There really aren't any puzzles.
Yeah.
Unless
maybe that's
and
not
honestly
this game.
sheds it sheds to light that when a game has a thing like what would be a puzzle if they didn't tell you what to do, but it says go to this thing and hit this button and this thing. Whereas if they could have designed an experience for me to discover that and figure that out, I would have had more fun. It would have broken up a little bit of the monotony. I would have enjoyed it. The other thing is, and why I disagree with your initial statement, is that I really feel like they did not capitalize on the overarching concept of this is an episode of television. It existed in the beginning and existed when it said end episode 1. Other than that, there was no other. It was just a video game. There was no, and I really feel like it could have been a blast to play with commercial breaks, to play with cliffhangers in between, just the end of the end of the episode. There wasn't like it never felt like a TV show. And you guys are saying, oh, it's like a song. It didn't really feel that way to me. It felt like that. It felt a little bit It felt a little bit because it had a song with this not score. It had an actual song, but that's not really like an episode of Law and Order ends and there's end credits and the theme. Like, why was there not the Alan Wake theme?
Well, there sort of was. Whenever you saw the logo, it had that sort of chime, but it wasn't really.
Well, right. But I mean, I think it's much more like an HBO show, like 6 Feet Under or Suspense, where they would have those songs that come on during the credits. Yeah, but that comment on the episode you just saw.
Yeah, but there weren't credits. It just said end episode 1. They could have played with that a little bit. Yeah. I would have liked the episode to have a theme song, just like Sopranos and 6 Feet Under. They all have theme songs. They have opening credit sequences and some sort of other.
I mean, they did have that opening credit sequence of the like Alan Wake logo. That always came up
every time.
And it had the same riff, sort of like Lost or Supernatural.
I just really feel like they touched upon it and they abandoned it. And boy, would this have been a mind-blowing experience.
Yeah,
that they really
I agree with you guys that this was one of the phenomenal gaming experiences I've had. It's fantastic and one of my favorite games ever.
Yeah.
And you're right. I agree with everything you guys have said. I think that we need to reinforce how well designed this game is. Ugh. Like you mentioned, Alex, there's a lot of games that use darkness and flashlight. This is the best darkness that has ever been designed, and the reason is because it's lit, which sounds contradictory, but
it's like day for night.
It is. It's exactly how a movie would show you darkness, where you feel like you're in the dark, but the environment is still alive and aware, and it's not just blackness.
Yeah.
You know, and I always felt through the entire playing of this game that I was in a real place that had nooks and crannies, that was lived in, that felt like a real environment, and it didn't feel just like a level of a game. And there are driving sections. They explore different ways to use light. There is the ultimate weapon, the ultimate way you get light at a certain point is so awesome, and you feel like such a badass. I won't spoil that, but there is so many little great design choices, and you kind of touched on it, Dan, when you were talking about how everything feels right and sounds right, and the combat is so satisfying and so right. I love the fact that, like a lot of my favorite action games, it does not end with a big fight boss character that you have to figure out the exact right way to kill it. There is that, but it's super easy, it's not about that. What this game does to make the game more difficult is it throws more guys at you, and that is always more fun because you feel like you're having this big standoff with all the huge army. Coming into this project, we heard a lot about Alan Wake over the last few years as it was being developed, and it seemed like there was going to be two different games, a darkness game and a daytime game. There really isn't much of a daytime game. There really kind of contrive ways to get it to nighttime all the time because there's really nothing to do in the daytime. And I was a little sad about that at first, but the nighttime stuff works so well and looks so well, and it never feels like what I always feel in a lot of video game nights or darknesses, which is like, I just want to be able to turn the lights on. Yeah. Never felt like that.
There were some pure, creepy moments. I mean, when you walk into empty houses and you're like, I know something's in here. You know what I mean?
But it's also cut up with humor. There's all the stuff like turning on TV and watching those TV shows.
That's what I want to. Did you watch the?
Yeah, I watched a bunch of them.
I urge people, if you're going to go out and play this game now, to watch those night
springs.
The first episode. I don't know if you guys watched.
I watched
the
all
teacher
of them.
in the classroom.
Yeah.
Was one. They're all like 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
It's
a riff on Twilight Zone.
Right. And it's one of the most brilliant science fiction concepts that deserves its own movie. I may do. I mean, like it really is its own awesome thing, and it's in the game.
And I want to add to that point, like not only watch those TV shows, but the whole the whole game is built around the fact that you find his manuscript pages, right? And at a certain beginning, you kind of think, oh, maybe this is just sort of a collectible that they threw in the game to have you do more game stuff.
Yeah.
at a certain point, you start reading stuff that hasn't happened to you yet, or from a different perspective that you haven't experienced yet, and it informs what you're doing, and it makes, when you get to those moments, you're like, oh my God, I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That was what you always said about BioShock that didn't hit me, was like this, you can only experience this as a game. Like, and that is like, they did storytelling throughout the whole game, but including reading those manuscripts where I read what happened and I was offered a new perspective on that, and then when I read something that hadn't happened to me yet and I knew it was going to happen, or when something is happening simultaneously, I mean, that was a really special experience that could only have happened in a video game.
Yeah, amazing. Must see.
Super must-play game.
Must play.
All right, everybody, we do want to take this time to thank our sponsors. We have a new sponsor.
Cool.
So 25 years ago, the internet was born.
What?
We all got to learn
How long ago?
of the .com.
Where was I?
25 years ago?
25 years ago, the .com name was
Wait a
allowed to
second.
be.
I was
Hey man, facts in the.
3?
If it's not facts, the .com name was invented 25 years ago.
Wow.
What happens now when you want to start a new company or a new web business? You get to go and see what .com names are left over from 25 years of people
That's
purchasing
why we have
them.
companies called Flizzle Flazzle and
Yes,
Hoobadajoo.
and Guzam or whatever it's called.
And no vowels allowed.
So
Here you
guess
go.
what? New companies come onto the play and said, we're going to change that.
I like that.
This company is called .co Internet. So now, .co, if you have a great idea for a name, but it's just not .co, .co. So what they're going to do is they're giving away $50,000.
That's a lot of dollars.
All you have to do is go to www.pitch.co, pitch.co.
Because Pitch was
Already
available.
there.
Pitch was available. Tell them what it is that you want to do with your new site.
Sex.co.
They're going to take the Sex.co. Dude, that is going to be worth a poop ton of money. Tell them what it is that you want to do with your new .co name.
Except I'm going to do SECTS.
Oh, Sects. It's
a religious
a religious site. Oh yeah, just go to my new religious site, sex.co. I'm very excited about this because I've had
Kind
that.
of a brilliant idea.
It's a
was
very
just
brilliant
going
idea.
there.
Amazing.
I cracked myself up.
No, that is an amazing idea. And this is a perfect time for this to happen. I've just launched
Formed a
couple
religious
of different.
sect.
Well, no, I've launched a couple different companies based on
Right.
whether or not I could get the web address, and have totally changed what the company dynamic was going to be, and the name of these companies
That's
based on the website availability. Honestly, so head over to www.pitch.co. Tell them what you want. You could win $50,000. Amazing.
I could use $50,000.
Who couldn't use
You know
$50,000?
why
I could give or take 50,000.
You know why I could use $50,000? Because I play so many video games that I would probably burn through that $50,000.
I wish there's a way that you could do less money,
You don't
same
need
games.
$50,000.
What do I need?
You need GameFly.
Gamefly.com. What? It's like a subscription to video games. I can get all the latest titles, older titles, new, classic. They got over 7,000 at Gamefly for you to choose from.
Crazy.
And it works like a subscription. So you pay $15.99 a month. Then you play as many video games as you can possibly stomach. You get the next one in the mail. You play it as long as you want. There's no late fees. There's no due dates. Then you send back that one when you're done. They send you the next one on your list. It works easy as pie.
I like
You should sign up for Gamefly.com by using our promo code. It helps us out. It helps you out. It's awesome. You get a 2-week free trial by going to Gamefly.com/TTRS, which stands for The Totally Rad Show. And you can experience for yourself for 2 weeks for free. You're losing money not doing it.
Amazing.
Also, Netflix is your online video store where you can rent almost anything. In fact, I've yet to come across a thing that I wanted to rent that wasn't out of print, that wasn't available on Netflix.
A lot of wasn'ts for a positive reaction.
That's right. You can basically, you sign up for a plan, you get one business day later the thing that you put in your queue, or you can choose from a vast selection of titles to watch instantly.
Which is the
on your
coolest thing.
Xbox, your
Coolest.
PC, your PS3, your Wii, your iPad, what have you. It's there for you to watch it. I just watched instantly Errol Morris's documentary, Thin Blue Line. Great documentary if you've never seen it.
Do you watch it on your iPad?
I watched it on my television, sir.
No.
Been watching
Touche.
Star Trek.
My God,
I've been
I guess he's
watching
so
Star Trek 2: Wrath of Khan on my iPad.
So that you could go.
Khan!
Amazing.
That was in Iron Man, by the way, a looking up screaming, which, why are we still using that in movies? Horrible, horrible. Anyway, not talking about that. Remember Iron Man, the first one didn't have that shot.
No.
In Blu-ray on Netflix. Go to go to www.netflix.com/TRS. Plans start at $8.99, but you can get a free trial by heading over there.
Correct, Amundo. So usually this is the place where we would answer an email question, but we
Emails
wanted to
sent to fans@totallyretro.com.
fans@totallyretro.com, which is also where you'd send backgrounds like Watson. I did. I love to say Watson. But we wanted to put a little bit more meat on the bones of the guest star, Peter Sciretta from Slash Film. So we had to wait.
His first name is Peter, his middle name is Sciretta, his last name is Slash Film.
Dude,
That's right.
I always want to call him now. Anytime I see him, I'm like, hey, Peter Sciretta from Slash Film. I don't know why I love it. But also,
I think that's because that's how he first introduced himself to you.
Yeah, probably.
I don't think it is.
Remember at Comic-Con?
No, it was E3.
That's
Yeah.
Comic-Con.
No, it was
E3.
E3. It was in the parking lot of E3.
Oh, right.
And it blew your mind, and I was like, what is this site? And now I read it every day. Anyway, so we wanted to kind of extend that a little bit. It was a very long, we should do like an unabridged version of
You should.
like,
It was super
hour
fun.
and a half.
There was a lot of
of
discussion
talking.
that probably you didn't get a chance to see.
Well, yes. Anyway, Dan?
Hey, where's that shirt from, Jeff?
Jinx.
Yeah.
.com.
And what other kinds of shirts do they sell there?
They sell Totally Retro shirts.
Yes.
And Totally Retro hoodie. Oh, I'm not wearing my. I wore my TRS shirt the other day.
Oh, it's cool. Oh, that's
I know,
so
I was
cool.
like, I was gonna
You could have been wearing it the
flash
other day
it.
too if you went to jinx.com/TRS to get all the cool TRS shirts.
What's going on with you?
It's all good.
Yeah, you guys are breaking shows, perhaps.
Yeah, a little
Really,
bit.
what set you off course?
We'll talk about
What
that.
comment was it?
I think I know.
The other thing I wanted to know was,
Uh-oh.
what is?
It's me.
Didn't a fan do our intro?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, and it was Mike's job to remember which fan.
Mark.
Oh boy.
Happening.
Where is it? It's not on the screen right now.
Mark Dickerson?
You know, you're gonna.
It's Mark. I know
It's
that.
Mark. So
It's
Mark's
Mark.
the cool
His
dude.
name's on the screen right
Mark
now.
and
I'm
Mark
sorry.
lower third.
We love getting. We get these. Fans are submitting intro lyrics now, which is really
Amazing.
awesome because it's hard to write these things.
So hard that we have a set of rules that they can follow. If they
Yes.
go to our forums, I believe, you put up a special forum thread.
I did indeed.
That details how it's one rhyming word throughout 5 stanzas or some shit.
4 stanzas, 4 lines per stanza,
Yeah.
5 syllables per line. Mark
Davidson.
Davidson. Thank you. Sorry, Mark. We should have known that, but we really appreciate this freaking awesome
Yeah.
Iron Man flavored
Very
intro
fitting.
lyrics.
Very fitting.
And so if you would like your intro lyrics, we're gonna make silly pictures based on your words. Check out the forums. Check out how to make the. We've gotten a lot of them that were sent in that we can't really use because they didn't follow our guidelines.
Well, go
so
back.
Check those.
If you go check the guidelines, if you sent something in that was genius, didn't quite make the guidelines, just
Yeah.
readjust, as it were.
Yeah.
Resend it.
So
'Cause we
thank you,
love-
Mark
we love getting those
Davidson.
things.
Be like Mark Davidson. Send us cool intro lyrics or a
Correct.
cool background.
Correct. All right, people, that is it for this week's edition of the Totally Retro. I'm Alex Albrecht.
I'm Jeff Canada.
I'm straight-faced Dan Trachtenberg.
Hey, at least once, we gotta have a break show.
Yeah, come on.
And Dan can be the
I
guy.
wanted,
who's
it to,
playing. Yeah.
I wanted it to be more severe, though. It kind of bummed me out that we're wrapping
That's because
up.
we're
more professional.
professionals. Worst profession ever. All right, everybody, coming up on this show, huge show, Iron Man 2 review. It's horrible. What? Review. All right, everybody, coming up on the show. It feels awkward that I have my hands in my pockets now. Does it look weird?
Looks fine.
Looks fine? Okay. Hello, everybody. Coming up on the show, huge show, review of Iron Man 2. Why did I pull my hand out of the pocket? Literally pulled the hand out of my pocket to do the counter.
You're gonna do the Mosey though. The Mosey's good.
Do you like the Mosey?
I like the Mosey.
Keep in that whole vibe.
All right, I like that. Hello, everybody. Coming up on the show, we're talking about Iron Man 2. Crazy. Hey, everybody. Coming up on the show, big show. We're talking about Iron Man 2. Also, we got a sneak peek at the thing everybody saw in front of Iron Man 2. Hello, everybody. Coming up the show this week, big time Iron Man 2 review. We got to look at the stuff. Alan Wake.
You need a Mosey.
More Mosey? Okay. Here we go. Coming up on the show this week. Hello, everybody. Coming up on this week's Totally Rad Show, we're going to be talking about the review of Iron Man 2. Also, we caught a glimpse of what J.J. Abrams and Steven Spielbergs have been up to. Spielberg? There's 6 Spielbergs.
good.
It's called Super 8. This is where they come from. This is why we do this. It's just for outtakes. We don't actually put any of this in the movie show. Here we go.
We're halfway there. Wow. Living on a
somewhere
prayer.
soon.